Many government secrets and personal reputations were staked on the belief that I could not be deprogrammed to remember those things that I was supposed to forget. They were wrong. I'm telling everything that I witnessed and saw about a tool that's being covertly used to usher in what Adolf Hitler and George Bush termed New World Order, and that's mind control. The facts and the truths that are listed in our book, Transformation of America. These truths have been covered up and kept from all of us for a long time under a blanket of so-called national security. We have over 27,000 documents and evidences, government insider testimony, medical records, more than enough evidence for any legal procedure in this country, including congressional. But this blanket of national security has stopped us from obtaining justice. I know that I'm extremely fortunate to have survived my CIA, MK Ultra, White House, Pentagon level, trauma base, mind control victimization. The sexual abuse that I was enduring was so horrific that I developed dissociative identity disorder that occurs when a person endures trauma that is literally too horrible to comprehend. Therefore, I developed a compartment in my brain, a little area behind amnesic barriers that was actually the neuron pathway shutting down in my brain in order to compartmentalize the memory of the abuse so that the rest of my mind could function normally as though nothing had happened. At that time, there's a criminal faction of our government that was interested in targeting children such as myself for mind control, because this compartmentalization of memory was something that they deemed ideal for keeping government secrets. After all, if I couldn't think to remember, how could I tell about it? My father had been caught sending this child pornography through the U.S. mails, and therefore he was approached and told that if he sold me into that project, that he would gain immunity from prosecution. My father thought it was just absolutely wonderful. Not only that, but my father, for having sold me into this project, was granted a lucrative military contract for making camshafts for military automobiles. And my father became extremely wealthy on his 6th grade education. Once my father agreed to sell me into the project, I was taken routinely to Mackinac Island, Michigan, which is a political retreat where the Michigan governor's mansion is located. It was a bohemian grove of sorts where politicians met and discussed New World Order controls, where they discussed mind control of the masses, mind control in the school systems, how to use occultism as a trauma base. I was a chosen one, or a prime candidate for mind control because of the sexual abuse that I had endured. My sexuality had been enhanced, therefore I was used as a sex slave and also delivered messages to and from these government leaders. And also to distribute and deliver the large quantities of CIA cocaine that was coming into the country. They took their war on drugs to our street corners and turned our streets into a bloodbath. At that time, this band of mercenaries were going in and out of South America. There was a lot of arms deals going on. And most importantly, when the airplanes would fly these guys down to South America, they would come back full of cocaine, which was being distributed on our streets. Additionally, people who suffer from dissociative identity disorder develop a photographic memory behind those amnesic barriers, because the brain has a defense mechanism that when trauma occurs, it photographically records events surrounding trauma. And an example of this would be that many of you who are old enough to remember, when John F. Kennedy was assassinated, most people know exactly where they were and what they were doing, because this was an event that traumatized the nation. And this exemplifies how the mind photographically records events surrounding trauma. So behind these amnesic barriers, I had a photographic memory, which the government deemed ideal for programming. That way I could deliver messages to and from government leaders, or in my case also drug lords, who were involved in funding the black budget and funding the New World Order controls. They're interested in programming me so that I would deliver the messages verbatim. I delivered exactly what I was told, using the voice inflections of my abusers. It was just a tape recorder, just parroting out exactly what I'd been told. I got straight A's. I did really good in school because I was photographically recording everything in class. Dissociative identity disorder persons also develop 44 times visual acuity, 44 times more detail than the average person sees. That certainly makes them perfect marksmen for mercenary operations or for intelligence. To be in espionage, these guys who are manipulating my mind and programming me for mind control purposes claim to be gods, demons, and aliens in order that I felt like they were beyond my realm to affect. There's no place to run, no place to hide. We're watching you. As my handler, he took me to various military and NASA installations for mind control programming. Here was this triangular stealth that wasn't in any of the school books, wasn't being talked about anywhere, wasn't out in the newspapers or anything else. It was being withheld. It was still a top secret weapon system. But I saw this triangular stealth. It looked like a spaceship to me. I'd never seen anything like that. So it was easy for me to accept the idea that what was happening was in fact being perpetrated by aliens. I'm not saying that there's no such thing as aliens, but what I am saying is that it was my experience that these were people claiming to be aliens. So beware of that. Understand that those criminals have been keeping information and technology from us under their blanket of national security. They are 25 years ahead of us at least, technologically. Can you imagine what they've got now? Superstition begins where knowledge leaves off. And they have been keeping knowledge from us for a long time. These criminals are people. They are within our realm to affect. They need to be held accountable. It was my experience that Ronald Reagan answered to George Bush, not under mind control, but willingly, because George Bush was respected for what he knew about bringing in the New World Order. Consider his past. George Bush first began with the United Nations. Then he went on to head our CIA. Then he ran our country through 3 administrations that I'm aware of, the Reagan administration, his administration, and the Clinton administration, because Reagan and Clinton both answered to him. They didn't recognize any party lines between them. That's a smoke and mirrors illusion for the public. It's not something they adhere to because they had exactly the same agenda. I didn't realize that people were unaware, but I understand good people don't think that way. They don't have criminal minds. They don't think to look for that kind of criminal activity. Just like these guys are limited in their thinking by immorality, good people are blinded from that kind of criminal activity until their eyes are open to truth. I endured numerous occult rituals. This blood ritual was so horrible that it actually changed the way that my brain was functioning. I lost all free will entirely. Under mind control, there's no free thought. Without free thought, there's no free will. Mind control needs to be exposed in order that people maintain their freedom of thought, in order that people maintain their free will. I was 30 years old. I was supposed to be killed, as most mind-controlled slaves are at the age of 30. Besides, I was considered too old for sex by that time, so I was supposed to be wiped out. But Mark came in and rescued me from certain death and rescued my daughter from a fate much worse than death. She was born directly into the MK Mind Control Project on a much higher level, a more sophisticated technological level than I was subjected to. In addition to trauma, she was subjected to harmonic mind control programming on NASA installations literally since birth, before her brain even had a chance to form. Mark took us to the safety and serenity of Alaska, and I started to remember what had happened, remembering the traumas and deprogramming the program. I became enraged. I was enraged at what my daughter had been through. the tortures I'd endured, and what the plan was for humanity as a whole. I'd have been blinded by that rage, immobilized by that rage, if it weren't for Mark's wisdom in telling me the best revenge is total recovery. Because through total recovery, by photographically recording all those events, I could expose these people for exactly what they are, for what their plans are, for what I witnessed behind the New World Order. We've got to get this information out. We've got to arm others with knowledge on mind control, because knowledge is our only defense against mind control. It is truth that sets us free. Please help us spread the word.